right, chapter 16, letters. Aiden? Maybe. Maybe. Okay, so where we left off, okay, the girls had just found out that Mr. March is sick. Mrs. March, in a scurried frenzy, she left to go be with Mr. March in the hospital. Mr. Brooke ended up escorting her. And overall, there's just kind of this feeling of doom almost. Have you ever gotten like a piece of really bad news, or maybe a pet died, or a pet ran away,
Way worse.
and or a family member died or ran away or is missing, something terrible has happened, and you wake up the next morning and it's like there's just this like heaviness across the whole room. You know what I'm talking about? How it's just depressing and really, really sad. That's how the girls are feeling. Okay? They wake up, Marmee is gone, which she's been gone before, but now she's gone or she is leaving. She's been gone before, okay, but not for a reason like this. They're scared about their dad, okay, and they're gonna have to continue and carry on at home with their jobs and duties without Marmee being there, okay, which we know from past experience is not the easiest thing. Jacob? 12 times.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. All right, chapter 16, letters. Everything seemed very strange next morning when the girls went down for an early breakfast. It was so dim and still outside, thank you so much, so full of light and bustle within. Breakfast at that early hour seemed odd, and even Hannah's familiar face looked unnatural as she flew about the kitchen with her nightcap on. The big trunk, like a suitcase, stood ready in the hall. Marmee's cloak and bonnet lay on the sofa, and Marmee herself sat, trying to eat, but looking so pale and worn with sleeplessness and anxiety that the girls found it very hard to keep their resolution to give her a cheerful send off. How was Mrs. March feeling? Brooklyn? She's scared and tired because she wasn't, well, she's scared for obvious reasons, but was she able to sleep last night? No, she was too worried. Meg's eyes kept filling in spite of herself. Jo had to hide her face more than once, and the little girls wore grave, troubled expressions. Why are they trying so hard not to let Marmee see them cry? Micah? Yeah, it would just make her sadder. They're trying to be strong for her. Nobody talked much as the time for Marmee's departure drew near. The girls busied themselves, one folding her shawl, another smoothing out the strings of her bonnet, a third putting on her overshoes, and a fourth fastening up her traveling bag. When all was ready and they sat waiting for the carriage, Mrs. March said to the girls, "Children, I leave you to Hannah's care and Mr. Lawrence's protection. Don't grieve and fret while I'm gone. Go on with your work as usual, for work is a blessed solace." What is a solace? Matthew?
Noun. Source of comfort, especially in difficult circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Hope and keep busy. And whatever happens, remember that you can never be fatherless. What does she mean by that? Luke? Very good. Even if your dad dies, they still have their father in heaven. Yes, mother. Meg, my dear, watch over your sisters, consult Hannah, and if you have any troubles, go to Mr. Lawrence. Be patient, Jo. Don't get despondent. Write to me often, and be my brave girl, ready to help and cheer all. Beth, comfort yourself with your music, and be faithful to the little home duties. And you, Amy, help all you can. Be obedient, and keep happy and safe at home. We will, mother, we will. When the carriage approached, no one cried or ran away, though their hearts were very heavy. They sent loving messages to father, remembering as they spoke that it might be too late to deliver them. They kissed their mother quietly, clung about her tenderly, and tried to wave their hands cheerfully when she drove away. Lori and his grandfather came over to see her off, and Mr. Brooke looked so strong and sensible and kind that the girls christened him Mr. Greatheart on the spot. Kind of like man, he looks so nice and helpful. Let's just call him Mr. Greatheart. Goodbye, my darlings. God bless and keep us all, whispered Mrs. March as she kissed the dear little faces and hurried into the carriage. As she rolled away, the sun came out, and looking back, she saw it shining on the group at the gate like a good omen, like a good sign from heaven that everything's going to be okay. They saw it also and smiled and waved their hands. The last thing Mrs. March beheld, she turned the corner, was the four bright faces, and behind them, like a bodyguard, stood old Mr. Lawrence, faithful Hannah, and devoted Lori. "Oh, how kind everyone is to us," she said, turning to find fresh proof of this in the young man's sympathetic face. "Well, I don't see how they can help it," returned Mr. Brooke, laughing so that Mrs. March could not help smiling. Basically saying, I don't know how people can help but be kind to you guys because you're so nice to everybody else. And so the journey began with good omens of sunshine, smiles, and cheerful words. "Oh, I feel as if there's been an earthquake," said Joe, as their neighbors went home to breakfast, leaving them to rest and refresh themselves. "Seems as if half the house is gone," added Meg sadly. Beth opened her lips to say something, but could only point to the pile of nicely mended stockings which lay on Mother's table, showing that even in her last hurried moments she had thought and worked for them. Basically, it sounds like maybe in the middle of the night when she couldn't sleep, she got up and finished mending the socks for her daughters. They would have socks without holes to wear. It was a little thing, but it went straight to their hearts, and in spite of their brave resolutions, they all broke down and cried bitterly. When the tears showed signs of clearing up, Hannah came to the rescue, armed with a coffee pot. "Now, my dear young ladies, remember what your ma said, and don't fret. Come, have a cup of coffee, all around, and then let's fall to work and be a credit to the family." What does Hannah want them to do? Jacob? Why? Very good. Work and keep busy to keep their minds off of all the bad stuff happening. Coffee was a treat, and so they drew up to the table, exchanged their handkerchiefs for napkins, and in 10 minutes they were all right again. Hope and keep busy. That's the motto for us. So let's see who will remember it the best. I shall go to Aunt March's, as usual. "Oh, won't she lecture, though," said Joe. "I shall go to my King's," said Meg, wishing she hadn't made her eyes look so red. "Hannah will tell us what to do, and we'll have everything nice when you come home," added Beth, getting out her mop and dish tub without delay. When the older two went out to their daily tasks, they looked sorrowfully back at the window where they were accustomed to seeing their mother's face. It was gone, but Beth's was there, nodding away at them faithfully. "Oh, that's so like my Beth," said Joe, waving her hat with a grateful face. "Goodbye, Maggie. I hope the Kings won't strain you today," she added as they parted. "And I hope that Aunt March won't trouble you. Your hair is becoming, and it looks very boyish and nice," returned Meg, trying not to smile at the curly head. Soon the girls received news that comforted them very much, for although he was dangerously ill, their father was already much improved. Mr. Brooke sent a bulletin every day. What is a bulletin? Amy? On. Yeah, updates you on what's going on. He sends like a brief message every day, kind of letting them know where things are. Which grew more cheerful as the weeks passed. At first, everyone was eager to write, and plump envelopes were carefully poked into the letterbox by one or other of the sisters, who felt rather important with their Washington correspondent. As one of these packets contain characteristic notes from the party, we will rob an imaginary mail and read them. Okay, so here the author is saying this is not necessarily what one of the letters said exactly, but these are kind of what the things the letters contain. Okay, so this letter is from Meg. My dearest mother, it is impossible to tell you how happy your last letter made us, for the news was so good we couldn't help laughing and crying over it. How very kind Mr. Brooke is, and how fortunate that Mr. Lawrence's business keeps him near you for so long, since he is so useful to you and father. The girls are all as good as gold. Joe helps me with the sewing and insists on doing all sorts of hard jobs. I should be afraid she might overdo it if I didn't know that this burst of acting wouldn't last for very long. Beth is as regular about her tasks as a clock, and never forgets what you told her. She grieves about father, and looks serious, except when she is at her little piano. Amy minds me nicely, and I take great care of her. She does her own hair, and I am teaching her to make buttonholes and mend her stockings. She tries very hard, and I know you will be pleased with her improvement when you come home. Mr. Lawrence watches over us like a motherly old hen, as Joe says, and Laurie is very kind and neighborly. He and Joe keep us merry, for we get pretty blue sometimes. What does she mean by we get pretty blue? Do they actually turn blue? No. What does she mean by that? Micah? Yeah, they get kind of sad. And we feel like orphans with you so far away. Hannah is a perfect saint. She does not scold us at all, and always calls me Miss Margaret, which is quite proper, you know, and treats me with respect. We are all well and busy, but we long day and night to have you back. Give my dearest love to father, and believe me, ever your own, Meg. How does this letter kind of show Meg's character? Do you know what I mean by that? How does this letter kind of show Meg's personality and how she usually acts? Layla? Okay. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. So we kind of see a lot of Meg's characteristics here, right? She talks about Mr. Brooke, who clearly she kind of has feelings for. Meg always seems to kind of take this motherly role, right? Like she is the one concerned about everybody, making sure they're doing their jobs, and so she feels the need to tell mother how each of the other girls are doing, and she does. Okay? Huh? Not a whole lot, no. All right, this next one, this note, prettily written on a scented paper, was a great contrast to the next, which was scribbled on a big black sheet of thin foreign paper, ornamented with blots and all manner of stylish curly-tailed letters.
Topsy Turvy Joe.
Whose letter is this? Who is this from? Ian? Joe. Meg's letter is pretty, folded on scented paper. It looks super pretty. And then you have Joe's. Smeared and dirt all over the place and just kind of a mess. No, this is from Joe. No. You'll see. My precious Marmee, 3 cheers for dear father. Brooke was a trump to telegraph right off and let us know the minute he was better. I rushed up to Garrett when the letter came and tried to thank God for being so good to us, but I could only cry and say, I'm glad! Didn't that do as well as a regular prayer? For I felt a great many in my heart. We have such funny times, and now I can enjoy them, for everyone is so desperately good. It's like living in a nest of turtle doves. You would laugh to see Meg head the table and try to be motherish. She gets prettier every day, and the children are regular archangels, and I'm Joe, and I never shall be anything else. Oh, I must tell you that I came near having a quarrel with Laurie. I freed my mind about a silly little thing, and he was offended. I was right. But I didn't speak as I ought to, and he marched home, saying he wouldn't come again until I begged pardon. I declared that I wouldn't and got mad. It lasted all day. I felt bad and wanted you to be home very much. Laurie and I are both so proud. It's hard to beg pardon. What trait do Laurie and Joe share? How are they similar? Connor? They're both proud and have serious tempers. Well, actually, maybe Laurie doesn't have a temper, but they're both too proud to admit when they were wrong. But I thought he'd come to it, for I was the one in the right. Well, he didn't come. And just at night, I remembered what you said when Amy fell into the river. I read my little book. What little book is she reading? Class? The Bible. Felt better, resolved not to let the sun set on my anger, and ran over to tell Laurie that I was sorry. I met him at the gate, coming for the exact same thing. We both laughed, begged each other's pardon, and felt all good and comfortable again. Oh, I made a poem yesterday when I was helping Hannah wash, and as father likes my silly little things, I put it in here to amuse him. Give him my lovingest hugs that ever was, and kiss yourself a dozen times for your topsy-turvy Joe. And then here's her poem. A song from the suds. Suds are like the bubbles that soap creates. Like when you get something soapy, the suds. A song from the suds. Queen of my tub, I merrily sing, while the white foam rises high, and sturdily wash and rinse and wring, and fasten the clothes to dry. Then out in the free, fresh air they swing, under the sunny sky. I wish we could wash from our hearts and souls the stains of the week away, and let water and air by their magic make ourselves as pure as they. Then on the earth there would be indeed a glorious washing day. Along the path of a useful life will heart's ease ever bloom. The busy mind has no time to think of sorrow or care or gloom. And anxious thoughts may be swept away, and as we bravely wield a broom. I am glad a task to me is given to labor at day by day, for it brings me health and strength and hope, and I cheerfully learn to say, head, you may think, heart, you may feel, but hand, you shall work always. And just a poem about her working. Okay. All right. Next we have Beth. Notice how short Beth's letter is compared to everybody else. Listen what she says. Dear Mother, there is only room for me to send my love and some pressed pansies from the root that I have been keeping safe in the house for Father to see. I read every morning. I try to be good all day and sing myself to sleep with Father's tune. I can't sing Land of the Leal now, for it makes me cry. Everyone is very kind, and we are as happy as we can be without you. Amy wants the rest of this page, so I must stop. I didn't forget to cover the holders, and I wind the clock and air the rooms every day. Kiss dear father on the cheek he calls mine. Oh, do come soon to your loving little Beth. Why does she take up such little space compared to everybody else? Amy?
Because Amy said all the space on the
Yeah, don't write so much. I have to write mine too. So Beth, being sweet little Beth, takes up the least amount of room.
selfish little Amy.
Now, here's Amy. Mon chéri, maman. We are all well. I do my lessons always and never corroborate the girls. Meg says that I mean contradict. So I put in both words and you can take the properest one instead of most proper. Meg is a great comfort to me. Ooh, and she lets me have jelly every night at tea. It's so good for me, Joe says, because it keeps me sweet-tempered. Laurie is not as respectful as he ought to be now that I'm almost in my teens. He calls me chick and hurts my feelings by talking French to me very fast when I say merci or bonjour as Hattie King does. So Amy would come up and say merci, bonjour, and Lori, who knows much more French than she does, would go and like show off to her, and she, I don't know what you're saying. That's so rude. Oh, the sleeves of my blue dress were all worn out, and so Meg put in some new ones. But the full front came wrong, and now they're more blue than my dress. I felt bad, but I did not fret. I bear my troubles well, but I do wish that Hannah would put more starch in my aprons and make buckwheats every day. Oh, can't she? Oh, didn't I make that interrogation point nice? What's an interrogation point? Aiden? Didn't I make that question mark so pretty? Look at that last sentence. Isn't it pretty? Meg says my punctuation and spelling are disgraceful, and I am mortified. But, dear me, I have so many things to do that I can't stop. Adieu. I send heaps of love to Papa. Your affectionate daughter, Amy Curtis March.
Punctuation.
Hannah also included a note at times to report on how well the girls were holding up and managing their duties. Even Lori and Mr. Lawrence dropped in a line or two to reassure Mr. and Mrs. March that all was well at home and the girls were being guarded carefully. Ian?
You made it sound like it was punctuation.
I know.
Punctuation.
Well, the way she spelled it was punctuation. Right here. Punctuation. Yes. Okay. All right. We're not gonna do these. Actually, let me stop this first. We're not gonna do these questions, but